Adam, are you going to introduce the speaker?
Yeah, absolutely. So Rowan Childs is the founder and executive director of Madison Reading Project. She'll be speaking to us today about the services they provide for children in the Madison area. She oversees the mission, employees, volunteers, and board of directors, and provides ongoing management to ensure the success and strategic plan of the book center, outreach programs, and their own book mobile. Side note, was at Westtown Mall this weekend. Haven't been there for like a year, and saw multiple trees with Madison Reading Project gifts that were on there. So good segue into the speaker for today. So Rowan Childs.
I'll move it over. Let's see if you want space in the corner.
No.
You put your stuff in the corner.
Thank you. I was going to say good morning. So good afternoon, everybody. Thank you so much for having me. Was really thrilled when trying to remember who specifically reached out. Tara probably reached out to me and asked if I would like to come and speak. What was a recipient of your foundation funding. So thank you for that as well. I definitely want to just give you a good overview of all the different things we do and also how we got started. And the one thing that I just wrote out, which probably speaks to Rotarians or even to Abe as well, is a fortune cookie that I received right at the very beginning when it was still just this little sort of idea in my head that was rumbling around. And it really spoke to me, and I stuck it onto my laptop and I would look at it all the time whenever I was doubting what I was trying to do. So that fortune cookie read, never doubt that a small group of thoughtful, committed citizens can change the world. Indeed, it's the only thing that ever has. And that's a quote by Margaret Mead. So let me just double check how I can. Oh, there it is. Oh, Tara, I was like, magic. Thinking right at me. So our mission is to connect our community with free books and literacy resources that ignite a love of reading and affirm and reflect the diversity of young readers. And our mission has pretty much been worded right around that since the very beginning. We officially became a nonprofit in 2014 when I filed the papers. We were a pilot program for about 6 months until I really decided that this was truly something that could be much bigger than just a pilot program. And the reason that I did start this was trying to sort of figure out my own kids' reading and literacy skills and really thinking about what happens when kids don't get that extra assistance, whether they do or don't have books in their own homes, if their parents are comfortable reading to them or know how to read to them. And right around this whole time was the Race to Equity report that was published right at the time that we sent in our paperwork to become a nonprofit. And that was the huge discrepancy in literacy rates of low-income children who are Black and brown, and just a variety of low-income areas in Madison and the Dane County area, as well as Wisconsin. Oh, I can do that. Well, now I got two laptops.
Either click or just hit it.
All right. So it's really about what we really focus on is providing new books. That is our main focus at this point. And to really help encourage kids to enjoy reading, to enjoy picking out their own books. There's a tremendous amount of pride in being able to do that. And when you're able to select the things that you really want yourself, you're way more excited about it versus someone selecting it or telling you you have to have it or you have to do it. Right at the very beginning of this whole idea was a donation that I got, and is something I would one day love to be able to do myself. And that was someone who heard what I was trying to do. And I didn't really have any of my personal money to put towards it. And she wrote a $1,000 check and said, that's a great idea. You've obviously put a lot of time and effort into thinking about it. And that's really what spurred me to really take that jump from just an idea to being able to go ahead and start that program. So one day I'll get to that. So it was all about trying to sort of figure out how do you get kids excited about reading or just interested in even picking up a book or just planting that seed of there could be some interesting books out there that I might like. And after working on a pilot program with Salvation Army over in Darbo Drive, the teachers were excited about it. Kids were starting to be engaged in having fun, and these books that we brought were new books that looked like them, that were interesting to them, that could be different career paths. It could just be something as simple as there's a child that looks like me who wants to learn how to swim. It could be anything like that, or it could be, you know, a book about their favorite sports team or a character that they know from TV. And looking at all of that and seeing the engagement of kids and teachers and even their parents, it was definitely something that I thought we should continue with, and started actually becoming a nonprofit. At the point that we started, way back when, it was all 100% donated at the very beginning and all volunteers, and slowly over time, being able to have enough fundraising capacity to really build and have more and more books donated to us, start our own employees, and really try and figure out the best way forward to be able to scale what we were doing at such a small start at Salvation Army to slowly be able to see what we were able to do at a much bigger scale. So about 4 years in, this is sort of where we were at. Initially, we started with, what if we could give out 100 free books? Then it was, you know, what about 1,000 or 5,000? And then about 4 years ago, we were probably about 30 to 40,000 books that we were donating. And we really had a lot of ideas. We talked to a lot of teachers and parents and nonprofits about what could we do? What do we want to do? And we really had a lot of ideas and really started to try and figure out how we could really grow Madison Reading Project, and obviously how we could really get a lot of kids and teachers and families engaged in reading. So slowly over time, I love that we even have a graph. If my math teacher was here from high school, she would be shocked. Feels so it's just those little things sometimes, right? So slowly over time, just we've really been able to grow the books that we've been giving, and also just the amount of kids that we're able to reach out to. And we're able to do that in a variety of different ways, but we really want to go to where kids are. And so that could mean going to schools, it could be partnering with all different kinds of nonprofits, community organizations, even down to, we have different apartment complexes that'll ask us to come out with our bookmobiles, so to drive literally right to where the kids are at their homes. And where we are now, we're about at 85% new books that are given year round. And the used books that we get, we still use all of those, or as much as we can. And a lot of those go to our little free library program. We have thousands of kids engaged in our programs. We will probably, I think right now we've got around, just thinking of the stats from this morning. We are at 97,000 books given this year. So we're probably be at the 100,000 mark by the end of the week, or if not by Monday, which is probably the most books we've ever given in a year. And about 54,000 kids that we've engaged with during the year. We have paid staff, which is awesome. We could definitely not do it by myself, or not even with just a few of us. To give you an idea of who is sort of all behind us in this mission, we have four full-time employees and 10 part-time employees, with that number growing. Hundreds of awesome volunteers who help us throughout the year. And our book center, which is now at the top of Fish Hatchery Road, right near Bergstrom Automotive. And that's about 2,500 square feet of a book shopping area and office space. And that's somewhere that we can welcome the public in finally. And you're always welcome if you give me a call or an email, and if you want to come and visit or you want to come and volunteer. finally can welcome people in. And we also have a book bus, like I mentioned, and that's been tremendous to finally have a vehicle that we can literally drive thousands of books to kids. And that's been amazing, just from like the amount of capacity that we can have with that. And also, instead of one employee showing up with a box of books, it gets kids and parents excited when they see our vehicle. They're really able to understand very quickly what we're trying to do. So these are our different programs, and I can go through them briefly for you. So we have our bus, holiday giving, Little Free Libraries, My First Pages. We also are the affiliate for Dolly Parton's Imagination Program, and then our many partnerships. A lot of the books that we focus on are diverse, and that is very specific in pretty much all of the book giving that we do. It's the most requested from adults, so whether that's parents or educators, and that's definitely something in all of the books that we purchase that is our #1 priority. So when you have books that look like you or look like your parents or your family or your community, there's nothing better for a kid to be able to see that. Our Books for Educators program is something we're really proud of. It's something we had thought of pre-COVID and had started doing, and that is being able to provide free classroom books to teachers. Kids are obviously in the classroom all day, and teachers often have to spend their own money to be able to furnish those libraries. So we provide a program that's 25 new books for teachers per school year, and they're able to apply for that. There's very little for the teachers to do. And slowly over the years, we're able to double the capacity every year. So last school year, we gave out 500, gave books to 500 teachers. And now we are on a list of, I think we're at 1,200 teachers. So we're working our way through. I think we're at about 700 teachers so far for the school year. And obviously teachers love that. And the books that teachers pick out are a little bit different than books that kids would pick out. So those are obviously books that mostly they want to make sure that they're sturdy, and because kids are handling them, might be about different types of genres, topics that they want to be able to explain to kids, but are still obviously high interest and obviously very current as to what could be happening in their community. This year, we also celebrated our 300,000th bucks given, and there's nothing as exciting as being able to celebrate something like that. We also celebrate, I feel like, every book that is given, because we know it's that opportunity that's there, or being able to see a child who's able to select their book and be just as excited every single time. But I love always seeing all the smiling faces. So that's a child on our book bus, and then that middle photo was the 300,000th book over at Therese Trace Community Center. And then on the far left is some of our educators who are receiving their books at a big teacher book giveaway. And then actually, see, now I'm wondering how I get to go backwards, Tara, on your slides. So I did want to just touch on a couple of our other programs.
Go back this way.
Yep, I think it's one more. Oh, just kidding, there we go. So I left out, or if anybody wants any of these, this has a specific breakdown of all of our programs. Obviously, I mentioned to you a Big Red Reading Bus. The bus is so successful. It is pretty much sort of during any months where there is not snow. It is nearly booked every single day. In the summer when school is out, it is pretty much on the road from 8, 9 a.m. until dusk, or even beyond that. So it goes to all different kinds of community groups, schools, MSCR sites. It gets booked by all kinds of daycare programs and special events through the city, whether it's sort of out at night at the park. And it is doing so well that we've decided, and we'll officially launch next year, a campaign to have bus number 2. So we're really excited about that, obviously. And we want the next bus to be a little bit bigger, and we want it to be all accessible. So that means much safer way for anybody to be able to board the bus. So it'll include a variety of safety measures and also a wheelchair lift as well, so that anybody can truly get onto the bus and be able to have just as much fun with our books and experience. The holiday giving starts officially, I guess, well, has already started for us. We're partnered with a variety of organizations, and we'll probably give out in the month of December, probably over 15,000 books. A lot of those will come next week when we're part of Empty Stocking Club, where we'll bring around 10,000 books to the Alliant Energy Center. Bonus point, we still have some volunteer shifts open if you're interested. But we set up an entire bookstore right next to the toys. And it's set up completely for parents, caregivers, social workers to be able to come and pick out a toy and pick out a book. And the shop that we set up is set up by genre, language, reading level, and it has volunteers and staff the entire time, so parents can really try and help, trying to help the parents figure out what books their kids might be interested in. The Little Free Library program is that, so you may be familiar with what that is. We actually have a part-time staff person that's helps run this program for us. So we have a map of nearly every Little Free Library, whether it's registered or not in the greater Madison area. And then we also track all of the Little Free Libraries that really are not taken care of. So in often low-income areas, they often get installed and no one looks after them, or they don't get filled with books, especially for kids. So that's something we're always looking for volunteers to help build those Little Free Libraries. We have books that can go in them. We also install Little Free Libraries for partners. And then My First Pages is a program we created in collaboration with Dolly Parton's Imagination Library Program. And that's, you may know who Dolly Parton is. She runs this amazing international book program. And we have posters, and I also have all these little pieces of paper with QR codes. So with Dolly Parton's Imagination Program is a book basically any child in our county under the age of 5 can be registered for a free book that arrives at their home via the mail. And we run that program in collaboration with Dolly. So anyone you know who has a child under 5 or is expecting, please share that information. Our goal is to have every child registered. There's about 30,000 children in Dane County at any given time. Right now, since launching it in February, we have around 10,000 kids already signed up. So our goal is really to try and reach as many kids as possible, hospitals, clinics, police stations, kind of you name it, because obviously kids are graduating out every month, and we're always trying to get as many kids in as possible. And that's an amazing program that we are able to offer. And that program is, it is something that we pay for. So it is free to any child or family. And we're able to provide that program in support of a generous donor who's guaranteed their support for 5 years. Otherwise, it is quite an immense cost. But that's something that we're really proud of and hope to grow so that every kid in Dane County has that program. So if you want any of these little flyers or a poster for your office or your church or anything like that, I have it all in English and Spanish, or we can get those materials to you. And then My First Pages is something we're really proud of. It's a program we had been working on, and in collaboration with the Dolly Parton program, is something we actually saw a need for. So Dolly Parton's program, it's already a system that has sort of like these books that are already set out. So there's no way to really tailor the books to that child or family. The books are still high quality, but they do have some things that we would think we can do a little bit better, especially when it comes to tailoring books to families. So 2 of the books in Dolly's program come in Spanish every year. And that's something that we see there's definitely a gap there. So with My First Pages is a program we specifically work with certain partners, including Reach Dane and a couple of other partners such as Rise. And they're tailored to kids individually, and they get a pack of 10 books during the 2 times during the year. And the books are tailored in language and their family, and we can able to do that with our partners' help. And it also comes with all kinds of literacy resources inside of the kit. It comes with crafts and all kinds of different things like that. And it comes in English, Spanish, or Hmong. And I think we're up to nearly 1,500 children that are in that program already. This is we're nearly at year 2. So we're hoping to grow that program as well. Some kids could be registered in My First Pages, and they could also be registered for Dolly Parton's program. That's totally awesome if they're able to do that. Dolly Parton's Imagination program, you have to have a registered home address. And that is one thing My First Pages goes through our program partners. So that could be a barrier for some people. So that's why My First Pages is also important for us to be able to do. And then finally, our partnerships, we work with a wide variety of groups. It could be anything from the Dane County Library System, school districts, individual teachers or social workers. It could be anything from helping celebrate Hmong New Year to sort of, you name it. We try to be really flexible with requests. We have a lot of different requests that come in, anything from I need 5 social emotional books for a first grader to an organization that might be looking for 100 books to celebrate the holidays or Kwanzaa, to we need 5,000 books to go to one city schools. It really varies, and we try our best to see if they can fit into our programs or if it's just under our special requests. But we really, I was just thinking someone mentioned that they met a fairy over the weekend. Sometimes we sort of do dub ourselves the book fairies because we really try to wish as many or grant as many book wishes as possible. And all of this is really to provide that inspiration and enjoyment for kids and families to experience. So let me go back here now. So to finally, sort of different ways to get involved. We do take new or lightly used books. There's on our website, you'll find all kinds of wish lists, ways to donate. Our community book drive is our big push to provide as many books as possible for December. Obviously events, different ways to volunteer. There's a whole tab on how to do that by our website. And we also offer our newsletter that comes out once a month, or obviously you can follow us on social media as well. And we really aren't able to do any of this without our whole community. We give everything away, which we love. But that means we have to fundraise or provide books or different things like that. So that is something we're always looking for people to help us out so that we can help the community. And thank you to your foundation and your group to help support our work in doing that. And that's my presentation.
Yeah, I heard you speak somewhere else, and I think one of the things that stuck with me is 2 things. One was that that a lot of households don't have their own libraries, and building a child's library, how important that is for them to own a book versus check it out from the library so that they can mark in it and they can rip in it and they can do whatever. And then the second thing that you talked about, I think somebody brought up in the audience, was books that are mirrors and not windows to the outside world, and how important that is to have books that you can see yourself in. And I just think that what you're doing is amazing. And I would love to get a group of people to do the stocking thing, whatever that is.
Yeah, so Empty Stocking Club has been going on for decades. So that's in collaboration with the Wisconsin State Journal. And so the big giving event is next week, I think Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. So thousands of children are registered from their parents, caregivers, social workers, and they're able to go through a giant toy fair and select a toy. And then they're also able to select a book. So we'll be setting up next week, moving thousands of boxes over there. So those times, all of those volunteer shifts are either helping us set up or tear it down, but also really working with community members to help them select books. So if you want to be around other people volunteering or talking to people, that's your jam. We also have volunteer opportunities where you don't have to talk to people, because I know not everybody likes to do that. Or you can, there's lots of ways to volunteer, but the Empty Stocking Club does still have volunteer shifts open. Yeah.
I was impressed by the number of teachers that you're connecting with, and it just struck me as a really high number. How many school districts are you connecting with?
Any sort of, for our specific educator program is in Dane County. There are thousands of teachers in Dane County. Sure. Just, I think, alone in like MMSD, I think there's over 2,000 teachers plus. It's a huge amount, and that is something, there is an absolute need for that. I think every year now, if we're able to, we would love to continue to double that. The Books for Educators program, it is expensive for us to be able to do it, even with our purchasing power and bulk purchasing. To give you an idea, even 25 new books, the types of books that they're asking for can range, even with our discount, anywhere from $5 to $15 per piece. So generally we figure around $250 per teacher. And then to be able to do the whole project year round. So it's not inexpensive, but we know it's extremely well received by teachers and also the kids. Yeah.
How are you funded, and what is your?
Yeah. This year our budget is right around 500,000. And next year's will increase greatly due to the fact that we're going to be purchasing a new book bus, amongst other things. We're funded by a variety of private donations, foundations, grants, kind of you name it, and events. Yeah.
You're amazing.
Oh, thank you.
I'm wondering, something that I keep hearing, and maybe you can speak to this, wondering about this stuff.
Yeah.
It's just coming up with rich families, poor families, everybody in the community.
Yeah.
Is there anything that you do?
Yeah. The one thing we don't do or have limited, especially during COVID, was actually like reading tutoring or reading individually with kids. That's just gotten a lot more complicated through sort of a variety of privacy rules and things like that. We support some of the different dyslexia foundations and groups with very specific types of books. So we are able to do that. But it is something, I think, some of that is just even sort of that education piece to educators and letting them know actually what that is. Because there also always new things coming out around dyslexia or different things you're able to find out when kids are still really young. So that could be something that is why they're not sort of up to speed with reading or why they're sort of falling in the cracks. And that is something in our educators newsletter, which is different than our general public one, where we have touched on some of those different subjects so that the information is geared directly to educators.
If I wanted to buy this book, is there such a thing? I mean, it's more. Yeah,
there are some specialized books that are for kids with reading sort of, there's sort of like every genre, every topic has a million books. But we do have a couple of groups specifically that help kids with dyslexia. And we check in with them quite a bit to find out what kinds of books are the best books, because that's always changing. Yeah. Yeah.
What age groups do you cover? From how early to
birth to 18.
And any adult programs?
We don't have any adult programs. We often interact a lot with adults. And even when we're out in public, whether it's with our book bus or anywhere else, if an adult wants some of our books, we're more than happy to give them to adults, because adults kind of like all of the same books. You know, whether it's young adults or books that were for high schoolers, or I still enjoy, shockingly, reading all the picture, well, not all the picture books, but There's so many cool books out there. So if adults want those to take home to read with their family or themselves, have at it. Yeah, thank you. Give you back one of these.
And you'll hang around for a few minutes if we want
Yeah.
to grab some volunteers here. I mean, I
Yeah.
think that sounds like I've helped out at the Empty Stocking Fund to give out in the past for the toy side of it, not necessarily the book side of it, but
Yeah.
I think it would be great to have a few people who wanted to get together and do a group project here. So, okay. Thank you, Rowan, for being here. We make a contribution for all our speakers to Rotary International's End Polio Plus Fund. We will do the same thing in your honor. Next week, Dean Ryerson from the Madison Westtown Middleton Club will be here to share his story about a recent friendship exchange to Poland, where they stayed in Polish homes and learning the culture and traditions of the Rotary clubs of those communities, in which they stayed, including support for their Ukrainian refugees. So be here for that'll be really interesting to see Dean present next week. Thank you for being present in person and on Zoom today. And remember, service above self. Have a great Rotary week, everybody.